Hi, we're here at Full Compass, and I'm Scott Tibbs from Roland, and I have the opportunity to show you the brand new Roland FA-08 Workstation Performance Synthesizer. Now, the thing that's really great about the FA-08, first of all, it comes in two models. The FA-06 is a 61 synth weighted action, and the FA-08 is a weighted action very similar to the RD300NX. So it's very lightweight, but it's super powerful and it feels incredible. Now, the sound engine that we have here is basically the Integra 7 sound engine. It has over 2,000 sounds. And this has supernatural sounds, supernatural acoustic sounds, supernatural synth sounds, supernatural drums, and PCM sounds as well. So all kinds of synth technology here. What I like about the sounds is that we have a website called the Axial website, and it's axial.roland.com, and you can import and exchange all the Integra sounds with this, and there'll be a lot more sounds up there, not only for the new FA-08 and 06, but also for the entire Roland product line. So that's a very, very cool resource, is the Axial website. Now, there's also two virtual expansion slots in the FA, so you can import new sounds, you can customize, your FA to your exact needs. So that's also very, very nice. But the main thing is that it's just extremely easy to operate, okay? Over here you have the 6 sound modifying knobs where you can adjust cutoff, resonance attack, panning levels. Now, these knobs are 4 layers deep, so you can also adjust EQ. These are also assignable, so you can assign many different controllers for the internal sounds or for external sounds. Also, we have a compressor tone and a chorus reverb, and also a brand new TFX select, which is very, very cool, where you can have performance effects in addition to all of the other effects that you have. So very, very cool, and I'll show you those in a little bit. Now, you also have the keyboard section here where you can set into split mode, dual mode where you're layering sounds, or you can have it in studio set mode where you can have up to 16-part layers, which is very, very cool, not only for performance, but the studio set mode is also where you would go into when you're sequencing your tracks. Now, there's a 16-track sequencer. Very, very super, super powerful. Again, it borrows from our previous Phantom sequencers, so it's very, very useful and very thorough. Now, there's a tone select area here where you can easily select your tones very quickly. Now, I have my favorite sounds in the favorites area, so I can select them right away with one button push. So if I have a piano, amazing supernatural type piano sounds. Now, if I wanted to tweak that just a little bit and maybe EQ it so it's a little warmer, I can easily do that. So again, I could dial in my perfect piano sound using the EQ, depending on the type of sound that I want. Now, we talked a little bit about the TFX, so what I would do is I could maybe take and put a phaser on this piano. Or I can go in maybe, let's try something totally different, and we just go into the chorus, which is nice. Again, everything is about changing the sound in real time. Now, with the electric pianos, also very, very nice. Now, I could also use the TFX in this and maybe just dial in, that perfect panning and tremolo for those great R&B ballads. Super useful. Also, incredible organs. Now, I can use the S1 and S2 to bring in the rotary. And again, if I wanted, I could go in and maybe bring in some distortion. So I can compete with the guitar players. Acoustic bass. The thing I like about this is that if I play a grace note, I have this supernatural behavior where if I play a grace note on the keyboard, it's like doing a slide on the bass. Very, very, very cool. Synth bass. And I can go in and, again, tweak the sound. I can even go in and add an arpeggiation, use any one of the 128 presets. Or you can create your own. Very cool stuff. Nice, supernatural acoustic guitar. So realistic. Now, if I went to a steel string guitar, if I play arpeggiated, I get that nice sound. But if I play together, I get the strum. So that's, again, that very useful supernatural behavior. I just love playing this. It makes it so easy. Now I could take orchestral sounds. I got this brass. Now if I just wanted to brighten it up a little bit, again, it's just so easy to get around playing these sounds, amazing sounds. Now let's go to more synthesizer type sounds. Jupiter 8 strings. Now, let's go to another type of Jupiter strings. A little more brighter. Let's warm it up just a little bit. And let's go into the TFX section, and maybe let's apply maybe LFO to it, you know, maybe a slicer. And a flange. So as you can see, there's all kinds of real-time control, synth flexibility, acoustic, amazing acoustic sounds in the new FA. Let's move over to the sampler section. Now the sampler section is a very capable SP404SX style sampler with a lot of flexibility and real-time performance possibilities. Now all of the samples, there's 16 banks of 16 pads, and they're all stored onto the SD card, which is right here. Very easy for quick loading. Absolutely, there's no loading time. So, and you can have multiple applications for these pads. They can be, of course, triggering samples. It could be a numeric keypad. You can use this for controlling multiple applications. You can use this for controlling, like, for instance, maybe main stage. So a lot of possibilities here with the sample pads. Of course, you also have full onboard editing for MIDI and audio. Very, very useful stuff. So let's take a listen to some of these sample pads. There's some amazing drum kits, so let's start with this supernatural drum kit called Power Session. I really like this drum kit too. A lot of great cymbals, amazing toms, real crack and snare, nice side stick, and a really nice ride. Of course, you have your classic hip-hop kits. Also your 909 and 808 kits. There's also some great electro kits. Some sound effects kits. Okay, now let's look at the keyboard mode. Now there's a single mode, dual mode, and studio set mode. Now the single mode, you basically have one sound throughout the whole keyboard. Or if you want to go into a split mode where you can easily set your own split point. I can have electric piano up here, bass down here. Now let's set it into dual mode where I can layer two different sounds. Here's the first sound. And here's with the second one. Very cool. Now also, when you go into studio set mode, you can have up to 16-part layers. This is also for when you want to use the sequencer as well. But let's just take a look at this, and let's go through one sound at a time. Nice electric piano. Now I'm going to go through and unmute some of the other parts. So here's the other string sound. Here's another string sound. Bring in another sound. And then bring in maybe one more. So you can have incredibly rich, complex textures if you want. Okay, let's take a look at the arpeggiator and the rhythm section. Of course, you can grab any sound. I got this synth bass, and I'm just going to apply the arpeggiation to it. So a lot of flexibility with the arpeggiator. Now there's 128 preset patterns, and of course you can create your own custom arpeggiations. Now another thing that I like to use over here is the chord memory. So if I play, I got this nice electric piano, but what if I don't know how to play these types of chords? Well, I could just go to the chord memory and I could choose any one of the styles and just basically play one note. And I can go through many different types of typical pop uses and R&B uses for that type of progression. Now, I can also take the roll off or on. I can have the roll go up or down. In this case, I'll just take it off. Very easy to make music with the FA. Now let's go into the rhythm patterns. So I chose this number 14, heavy 3, and I can essentially go through the whole entire forms of the song. I have an intro, a verse 1, a fill 1, verse 2, fill 2, and an ending type of progressions. And I can sequence these, or I can just play along with them. very useful patterns. Fill, going into the second verse, going to the ending. So very, very cool. Everything that you need is all here in the FA. Okay, now let's get to the most fun part of the FA, and this is creating your tracks using the 16-track sequencer. So I'm going to go in right away and set my recording settings. Now I'm going to have it set to grid quantize, so it's going to basically fix any mistakes that I make. So that's always a good thing. And I'm going to set it to an 8-bar loop, and I'm going to play some drums. Just going to play this groove, and here we go. 2, 3, 4. Now I can rehearse, practice all kinds of other things. As soon as I'm ready, take it out of rehearse. So just having a lot of fun. Now of course I start to add in my other tracks, and you start to have some very, very cool arrangements. We bring in the other strings that I've recorded already, piano. Of course, I put these all in before, but you get the idea. Just loop recording makes it a lot of fun and very easy. And of course, I could go in and start to mix all my tracks right away from the knob. So I can go in and I can adjust levels, I can adjust panning, I can adjust all kinds of things, cut off, anything I need, I have that. In addition to recording your MIDI tracks in the sequencer, you can also record guitars and vocals using the onboard effects just via the input in the back of the FA. Now, once I'm done, I can go in and export all of these stems. This is the very, very cool thing about the interactivity with the FA and your DAW, and then back to the FA for live performance. I could take all of these individual tracks and bounce them all as individual audio, and then bring those into my DAW, further tweaking them, get a stereo mix, bring that back in, again, of course, via the SD card. And it is absolutely amazing, the music that you can accomplish. Now, there's also a USB connection. So I can take the USB port, connect it to my DAW, and then, while I'm tweaking all those tracks that I made, I can turn this into DAW mode, and has automatic setups for Logic Pro, for Sonar, for Cubase, and a custom one that you can create maybe for Ableton Live if you like. But there's all kinds of settings now that make this not just stop at the creating the track process. It's now controlling your DAW. And then when you're done, like I said, you bring it back in via the SD card, and then now you're playing these masterpieces live. So just to give you a recap of the FA-08, brand new intuitive design, lightweight, both 61 and 88 note versions, over 2,000 amazing sounds taken from the Integra 7, 16-track sequencer, an amazing sampler, USB audio and MIDI interface. You have the arpeggiator, the chord memory, and the rhythm patterns. Seamless workflow between the Workstation and the DAW. You also have tremendous value for your money. And it's only 9 seconds on power up, so it's very, very cool. You can get to work right away. So I hope you enjoyed this look at the FA-08 Workstation Performance Synthesizer. This thing is absolutely amazing. And for more information, just go online at fullcompass.com or contact the Full Compass Sales Pro.